Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm." Roger Brooks lives by this motto. For more than 30 years, he has helped transform ordinary places into extraordinary destinations. He's worked with 1,000 communities around the world, guiding them in their branding, marketing, and product development efforts. Author of the book, Your Town, a Destination, and a U.S. Travel Association board member, Roger is a well-known thought leader and change agent. Energizing communities into action, he's all about making something happen. And we're going to see that today. Here to share his enthusiasm with us, please welcome Roger Brooks, CEO of Roger Brooks International.
Thank you. So you ready for some fun? So how many of you saw me 5 years ago when I was here? Good, and you're back for more punishment. So this is going to be pretty fun. It's going to be fast-paced, and we're going to go through a lot. And just so you know, if you that have not seen me before, I tell it like we see it. And so a lot of times some people feel pretty uncomfortable. Sometimes I call people out. And so please don't be offended because I try to do everything to show you what you could do to make it better. So this is, what you're going to see is a look at the Bluenose Coast from the eyes of a visitor and not as somebody that was contracted to come in and tell you what you already know. And so just so you know, what we always do when we do these, we look at the marketing, we look at the, and we're going to talk a lot about marketing today because I think you already got a tremendous product. And then we were here in July. As a matter of fact, this is the third of 4 trips to Nova Scotia this year. And just so you know, I am going to be doing a keynote and a breakout session at the Tie-Ins Conference in Halifax at the end of November. So I urge you to come to that because that will give you way more about marketing stuff, particularly for you that are operators and businesses. And so, but while we were here this summer, we spent a week on the Bluenose Coast. And so we looked at all these different things when we were here. And so you're going to see some of them. Matter of fact, we went through a list of 60 different items, and don't panic, I'm not going to give you all 60. I'm going to just cover the highlights of our experience. And we had a great time. And meanwhile, this is the first time my wife, Jane, has not traveled with me to Nova Scotia. Every time I come, she goes, "I'm coming." It's her favorite. It's both of our favorite places in North America is Nova Scotia. And I don't say that other places. It really is our favorite process. So she's back at home doing all these reports right now so we can get these to you in the next couple of weeks. When I was here in 2008, we really concentrated on Peggy's Cove, Lunenburg, Petite Riviere, Bridgewater, Hubbard's, Terrence Bay. We kind of looked at that. And there was a lot of things we missed. And the reason is you have more to offer in the Bluenose Coast than anywhere else in the province, outside of maybe the city of Halifax. But think about what you have. Yeah, you really do. And part of that is because you're close to Halifax. And so this time what we thought we'd do is dig a little deeper, which we did. We visited the places we missed. We concentrate, you're going to see a lot on marketing today because I really believe your product's already in place for the most part. And then I'm going to do a couple of comparisons to when we were here in 2008. And thank you to our favorite place. It's good to be back. So here we go. Now, on day one, I remember 8 years ago, or 5 years ago, driving and looking across the water in Hubbard's to these little cottages and everything, and driving around and seeing Rosewood cottages. So when Becky, my assistant, she books all the places we stay and everything. She's been my assistant for 13 years. I just tell people I go wherever Becky sends me. And instantly I have a lot of women come up and say, "I need to talk to her because she needs to talk to my husband. I can't get him to go anywhere I want him to go." So I said, "I want to stay at the Rosewood Cottages." So just so you know, we made the Rosewood Cottages our home base while we did the Bluenose Coast. And the reason is, number one, it was highly rated on TripAdvisor. Number two, it just looked really cute because I remember it from 5 years ago. And we actually stayed in that unit right there. And of course, I heard from the owner of the next unit that hers was better, which is fine. And but it was very great. So we stayed there. And we had a good time, and of course, it's a beautiful spot. And I mean, we just remember this from last time. So that's where we camped out on the weekends. There's Shane, my wife. She was here with me in when we were here, July, I think. And the one challenge we had is while we were doing the Bluenose coast, it rained almost every day. After that, we had to go to the eastern shore where you had the hottest days on record. And we're staying in a cabin at Liscombe Lodge that had no air conditioning, and it was 34 degrees in our room. So what we used to come here is we really used the South Shore Guide as our primary thing. We looked at the top 5 local picks. So we used this quite a bit in all of our marketing, but this was the main thing we used right here, this map. And one thing that's really interesting is when I was here 8 years ago and we started working doing all these assessments, it was hard to find a map of anything in Nova Scotia. And the provincial map had these really dark, heavy regions. And it was impossible to read the maps. And so when I was here 5 years on Bluenose Coast, I said, you guys really got to do something for maps. We need maps when we're here. Things we can hold in our car and have on our laps. And so we did use this was our primary guide, this piece right here. And so we used it left and right. We used it all day, every day. We ended up going through 2 versions of it because we folded it up and unfolded so many times it started to tear at the seams. That's great that we were using that as a guide. And we would have loved to have the Bluenose Coast map combined with the Lunenburg regional map because I think let me see if I can find it here. I know I have it here, this one. Because I think what happened is we went from 5 years ago of having not enough maps to too many maps. And so we also had this one. They both had hidden gems on them, and they're both good. And the reason we used the Bluenose Coast over this one is because it was more inclusive. So rather than say, well, now we're in this area, let's switch to this map and everything. When you're in a car, you don't want to be looking at 10 different brochures. You want one. And so using that South Shore Guide and then the Lunenburg map we did, and the Bluenose Coast map. And we did read down through this one, though, and so we did do that. So it was great. One thing I would caution you on is always avoid lists. We don't want lists of places to eat. If we want Mexican, we want to have details. And so just so you know, whenever you do these things, we'd rather, the number one asked question of visitors in the world is, where's a good place to eat? And don't give me a list. Where would you eat? And then you can always respond by saying, well, are you in for more formal dining or really casual or sandwiches or what's your flavor? And then you can kind of steer people that way. So just remember, we don't really go for lists or directories that much anymore. We want details. And by the way, we got all of these brochures. I got them all piled up on the table here. And I still can't figure out why everywhere we went, we ended up with 3 Chester brochures. Now I'm going, okay, I think one's enough. And I don't know whether some of them are newer or older, but everywhere we went, we got a different set. And so we got all of these different things that ended up with what we used and everything. We go through these. But once again, when you're in a car, you're not going to sit there and go through 25 different brochures. You hope that you can find one that's all-inclusive. And so now we went from that map, the Lunenburg map, and now we got 3 more maps. So thank you so much, because we had no problem this time finding stuff. And some maps were more detailed than others, but we got plenty of maps. And then we have like your artisans down there at Petite in the Salt Box are creating their own map of the artisans. This one here we found, and they're not here, are they? Oh, there he is. Yes, our house is all full of their art. Now, so I'm going to give them a bad time too. And our challenge is once again here we couldn't figure out where we were geographically. I thought it was great to connect the dots by the roads and stuff. So we ended up with tons of maps. Of course, then there's the driving tour map, which is one of these here. This one right here. And we also thought it was good because it had forest, farms, lakes, and rivers, and so we ended up with almost over the top. We would love to see these combined. Somebody sit down and say, okay, let's grab all these brochures and do one master brochure. That would be way easier for visitors. But once again, I thought this one was really good. It had all the little interpretive center, the trails, Fox Point. It had all these different things on there. And so we're going to talk about these. Well done. And by the way, all of these were really well done. So there was no shortage of marketing materials for the Bluenose Coast. And there you go. This is what we'd love to see. It's just one. You have so much to offer here that a person, it always cracks me up when visitors come in to Nova Scotia and say, okay, I'm in Nova Scotia. We're going to see the whole province today. We'll go drive out to the Bluenose Coast. That'll take 2 hours to do the whole thing. Then we'll go all the way to Cape Breton to drive the Cabot Trail. That'll probably take an hour. And I'm going, you know what? Just to do the Bluenose Coast. Last year we were here for 5 days. This year we're 5 days. And it took us all 10 days to finally see everything. We probably still missed stuff. And if you combine these all together, all it's going to say, my gosh, look at all the stuff they have combined. Because you had 2 sets of hidden gems. You had all kinds of other things. And so this way, if you put it all together, so you go, oh my gosh, we need to spend 10 days there. Wouldn't that be great? Sometimes tourism isn't about how many visitors you attract, it's how long they stay. By the way, an overnight visitor spends 4 times more than a day visitor. 4 times. So all those day trippers that come from Halifax to Peggy's Cove and turn around and go back, they're just day trippers. If you can get them to spend the night, all of a sudden there's breakfast, there's lunch, there's dinner, there's more activities, all of those things. And so we also did use the website. We looked at the website. We used this one. And, of course, the NovaScotiaBackyard.ca. We also used that. So here we go. You ready? So we decided to start at Petite Riviere this time because you know what happened is last time we started in Peggy's Cove and we worked our way down, and by the time we were running out of our 5 days, we didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to the southern shore like La Have or the southern part of your area. And so this time we said, we're going to start down there and work our way back. And so we had a good time. The first thing we saw was Oak Island. This is where I start making people uncomfortable. This is what we saw when we arrived, and we were already having second thoughts. Because we see huge potholes, we see a building here that looks abandoned, but what really got us was private Causeway Island, no trespassing, private property, access granted by permission only. By entering Oak Island, you will be filmed and or otherwise recorded. I was like there, Heil Hitler! It was like the Gestapo. We did not go in there. We were afraid. We were not going to go in there. We saw 4 other cars go there and turn around and leave. I went, whoa, what the heck is this about? And you're promoting this place. And so it looked like private property back there, and so we did not dare go past those signs. We were scared to death. And there's no parking here. We didn't know whether we should walk in there, whether it was open to the public, nothing. And so we left. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's anything here. It was written as a place that you want us to go, but I'm going, they don't want customers, obviously. Or they have a real problem with vandalism and crime and everything. And so just as an FYI, we avoided it. And I don't think you should promote things if there's nothing there for visitors, or if the attitude is you stay away. Don't promote it. If that's not the case, then by all means, work with them to change the signage and be a welcoming destination. If you're in the hospitality industry, you have to be hospitable. And so that was our challenge there. Don't promote that if you don't want visitors. And that was our assumption, they don't want visitors. And so, one of the things that we think is really important, I'm going to take several little side strips and I'm going to give you, by the way, you're going to see lots of things that say suggestions. They're merely suggestions. There's no recommendations here. We did not talk to Jeanette first. We did not talk to Trudy and Mike. We didn't talk to Nova Scotia Tourism first. We just came as visitors the first time and this time. And so there's lots of things that I put as suggestions. That doesn't mean they're a recommendation, because you know what? We never talked to you first. And so you're going to see lots of that. But I'm also going to give you lots of these little things you can do. One of the things I want you to do this time that you didn't do last time, because politics always get in the way, is promote your best ofs. And so, this I'd remove from the guide unless they want to be more hospitable, because I don't know what's there. And it may be absolutely great, but if it's not, and that's the attitude, then I would just say, you know what, we're in the hospitality industry. And so that was really important. You must promote your anchor tenants. So in your guide, I don't want you to promote things that don't deliver on the promise. I'll tell you what, yesterday I spoke in the Eastern Shore. And in their guide, they promoted a second-hand store in Canzo that I, and probably most people, and no offense to that store, probably wouldn't drive 5 minutes out of the way, let alone make a trip all the way there. Sometimes what we do is we promote things because we're politically motivated to promote them, whether they can deliver on the promise or not. And you can't do that. Because when we saw that little second-hand store, and it had terrible curb appeal, it was closed most of the time. I think it was open like on weekends. And we judged the entire area by that. So if I was a visitor and I'm coming in the Bluenose Coast, and my first thing I see is Oak Island, and that's what I see, and that's considered one of your top 5 picks, I'm going to go, whoa, what does that do to the other 4? So you have to understand that. So one thing I wanted to show you is this little brochure somewhere. Where did I do with it? Oh, you know what? I gave it to Trudy. Do you have those right there? This is what you call being an Indian giver. I'm just going to, just the two, those two. I'll give them back to you, I promise. We want you to create a very best of Nova Scotia guide, or very best of the Bluenose Coast guide. Think about this. How many of you would go to Orlando if Disney World was not there? Raise your hands. Oh, you're a mean bunch. What if it was January? Beautiful weather, you still wouldn't go there. Here's the point. You just insulted 171 other attractions. But everybody knows that Disney World is the number one. They are the major tenant. They are the anchor tenant. And then while we're there, we will go do SeaWorld. We will go do Wild Animal Kingdom there. We will go do Universal Studios, right? We do all those other things while we're there. You always promote your anchor tenants and everybody else will benefit. So we're working in a little town called Alpena, Michigan. Alpena, Michigan is a population of 10,000. It's on Lake Huron. And we wanted them to promote their very best ofs. Selecting Alpena's best restaurants, retail, and attractions. No lodging is in this guide. And the reason is we want your lodging to hand out this guide so that when someone says, where's a great place to eat, rather than you saying, oh boy, I can't mention it, but this happened to us on the Eastern Shore. We can't mention any restaurants specifically. That's not good. And so we just say, well, you know what? We have a best of guide. And check this out. And so what they did is there's the Maritime Heritage Center there. How cute is that? It's one of their signature retail shops. It's activities, restaurants, and it's the very best of. So what they did is they created this brochure that I'm holding in my hand. And here's all the different panels for it. Each one of these people was vetted, and I'm going to give you the criteria, and they were asked if they wanted to be in this brochure. They paid $400 per panel, and a couple of them couldn't afford the $400 per panel, but there was enough, like there was a museum in here that really was a great asset, but couldn't afford it. It was enough to cover them. A couple businesses were, had to pay like monthly, but it's important to promote your anchor tenants. And so what they did is they paid $400. They printed 30,000 of these. And what they would do is they distribute them once people came into their area. That's when they got one of these. They stayed at a B&B, they stayed at a hotel, they got one of these in their room. Or when they checked in a hotel, they say, in here, by the way, is our best of guide. Some people complain, well, you picked them and you didn't pick me, and I think I'm just as good as they are. Now, that would never happen on the Bluenose Coast, would it? Yeah, I didn't think so. And so, what we did, you know what they're saying now? That was the best $400 I never spent because I didn't realize when they went into the anchor tenant next to me, they also came into me. If you ever go to Halifax Center, the mall, do you go there because there's cell phone dealers and Hallmark stores and little retail? You go there for the anchor tenant, so while you're there, you buy other stuff. It's the same with your best ofs. You must promote your best ofs. What always kills this project is the politics. So you know what? I'm going to give you your list. How many of you are nervous now? So, very important. By the way, let me tell you one more thing about this. They mailed one of these to every household in the Alpine area. By the way, the population is 30,000. And they had probably, I can't remember, 8,000 households. They mailed one to every household with a card. Here's what the card said, and you could do the same thing. The number one reason people travel is to visit friends and family. We hope you will hang on to this brochure so that when friends and family visit you, you will show them the best of what the Bluenose Coast has to offer. Because we believe that every dining room table should be a concierge desk. Within days, people would come into a shop and say, I got this in the mail. How long have you been here? And the mercer would go, 10 years. That's why you need to do this. By the way, within 90 days of handing out this brochure, their hotel stays nearly tripled. Now, they only had 9 hotel rooms, so, no, I'm kidding. They actually have about 400 hotel rooms, but they tripled their stays because people said, wow, I didn't realize this looks, we got to go see all of these, and they run out of time, and then they're going to stay another night, or they're going to come back again. This is the criteria here. They should be highly regarded by somebody other than themselves. 80% plus positive peer reviews on TripAdvisor, Yelp, you name it, regional publications. They had to be highly regarded. They had to have good curb appeal. They had to be open at least May through October, in their case, Alpena. There were seasonal. For you, I think it should be year-round on the Bluenose Coast. Some areas in Nova Scotia, I think that would be fine. They had to be open until at least 6 o'clock p.m. I'm going to give you a statistic once. I'm going to tell you now, and I'm going to tell it to you in a little bit. 70% of all consumer spending, including visitors, takes place after 6 p.m. Are you open? Remember, if we're out there kayaking, we're biking, we're out there doing all that recreational stuff, we're not spending a lot of money when we're doing that. We come back at the end of the day, we're ready to spend money, and you're closed. So that was the rule there. They had to be open 6 days a week. And finally, they had to be unique, in your case, to the Bluenose Coast, which means you're not going to put a Tim Hortons in there. You know, or Dairy Queen, or some of those that are here in Bridgewater. It has to be unique to you. So there's your criteria. And, you know, I would say, let's pick your top 5 restaurants, retail shops, and this is all just rough. You know, but I got 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, something like that. I think I came up with more than that. It's okay. You can go clear up to 36, but you can't just include everybody. That's very important. So we were driving, so we were down at the south end. The first thing we did is went to Petite Riviere Vineyards, which we did 5 years ago, and it was still great. Good people there. It was great there. I like it now. I like the break now for a wine break. I thought that was great. You know, it's as beautiful as ever. And of course, when we were there, it was pretty foggy. But it was kind of mystical. But it was really a great thing. And the great staff, of course. And I thought they were great. And it's fun to see a winery that's somewhere outside the Annapolis Valley. And so the very best of Nova Scotia's Bluenose Coast. That's what you should call this brochure. And I'd absolutely have them on it. So there's your first one. Then we went over to the Paint and Saltbox Gallery, and our friends are back there. And it's one of our favorite places in Nova Scotia. And, you know, one thing I would give them, I'll give them a bad time right now, is on any sign, by the way, I'm not just picking on people, this goes for all of you. On signs, you should have never more than 12 words. 8 or less is better. So I'm redesigning your sign for you guys. There you go, to like that. See what I mean? What I did here is I just took off the phone number because, and this goes for everybody. Have you ever gone anywhere and said, whoa, stop quick, I got to write down that phone number? See, these days we don't. And so to give them better, so all I did, you can see, here's before, that's all I did. I focused on the experience of Paint and Saltbox Gallery, fine art, folk art, furniture. And it's fantastic that they have the days that they're open and how far it is. And everybody else should do the same thing. So, great job. And of course, I love their place. And we have their art in our home. We've got it all over the place. And they do such a great job. If you haven't been there, you need to go check it out. The pictures do okay? And so I really wanted to buy this and take it home because I love it, because I'm in the travel industry. So I love that. I thought that was just really cool. Very fun. It's a very fun place. And you know what my favorite place, if you've never been there, is the chicken coop out and back. It's just the coolest place ever. And I even like the bench there. Yeah, there we go. You can probably categorize people in there. And so it's just a great place. And so I think it's really important that we consider them one of the best ofs for all of Nova Scotia. And so, they should be businesses, by the way. Here's a big deal. A lot of your hidden gems you used and a lot of your best ofs, they were public amenities. Here's the scoop about tourism. First of all, I don't want anybody to ever tell you that tourism is not economic development, because that's absolutely false. Number two, tourism is the front door to your non-tourism economic development. Anybody that's going to come into any one of your towns as a site selector for something that has nothing to do with tourism is going to come here first as what? A visitor. Is this a place they would want to invest, they would want to live, they would want to spend money? Number three, tourism is the purest form of economic development because people come, they spend money, and they go home. You don't need the social services. If you get the right kind of visitors, you don't need any more police. That's what they do. And so I think it's so important. But here's the deal. Tourism is driven by private sector enterprises, not biking trails, kayaking trails, unless, of course, you rent the kayak. See what I mean? Tourism, think about this. And by the way, here's what I hear. Well, we can't use public money to promote private business. BS. Can you imagine Orlando saying, hey, everybody, we have an amazing theme park here. We cannot mention it by name because it's private. And we have 171 attractions, but we can't mention any of them. They're all privately owned. Can you imagine Napa Valley? We have 242 wineries here, but we can't mention them by name because they're all privately owned. Oh, I'm from Branson, Missouri. We have 49 music theaters, but we can't mention them all. The heart and soul of tourism is private enterprise. So the bulk of your best ofs, I'm going to tell you, are going to be private sector. You need to promote private sector. And so, because that is where you create jobs. While in the Petite Riviere area, we did see the general store, which we thought was really cute. We thought, boy, add one or two more planter boxes. But we did think it was great. And here's a statistic I want to give you. For all of you that are operators, merchants, 70% of first-time sales comes from curb appeal. We all travel. Have you ever said these very words? That looks like a nice place to eat. We all do it. That looks like a nice place to stay. Oh, that's a really cute shop. Let's go in. 70%. That's why in housing, residential, by the way, I took this on the Bluenose Coast somewhere, beautiful house, and they go by curb appeal. Did you know that when people sell homes, that 90% of the people, when they're going to buy a home, they drive by first, and they make a judgment whether or not they want to go inside? 90%. Is that fair? Maybe not, but you know what? That's what we do. We judge the book by the cover. While we were down there, we did find the little Mariner Craft Gallery, so we did go in there. We thought it was very cute, very charming. Nice lady was operating that, and we bought some cards there. And then we went on, and we went into Broad Cove, which we totally missed last time, and this was one of the best gems ever. It was really great. And our friends at the Saltbox Gallery told us to go there. And we did. And it was awesome. I mean, first of all, look at that. How cute is that? Those are fresh cut flowers. We love the Welcome to Best Coast Coffee Gallery, open 9:30. We love the fact that, everything about this place was just charming. See, sometimes the very best ofs don't have to be something big and grand, you know, but I loved it. And there they are with all the guides on every table, had everything there. And what was really cool is while we're sitting at our table, we saw one of the girls working there walk in with a basket of stuff they just picked from the garden. I mean, everything was fresh. And at the garden right out and back. I mean, it's just cute. It was charming. Probably have too many of these up there, but, you know, that's what happens when you're trying to make everybody happy. You know, there's the rhubarb growing out there. They got window boxes. This is out and back. I mean, it was just a great place. And so we absolutely had to add them to the list. They are absolutely worth the drive out of the way to go for. Awesome little place. So, we went to LaHave. Last time we were here, everybody kept going, didn't you go to the LaHave Bakery? I go, did we miss that? I mean, I think we drove by it. And so this time we did go there. And by the way, yellow always pulls the eye. That's why we noticed the salt box signs and stuff. Even on brochures, the top 3 inches of brochures, yellow always pulls the eye in a rack full of brochures. And so having the yellow chairs, I love the art that's on that. I mean, it was just really great. Just a great job there, and absolutely a great place. As a matter of fact, we ended up there twice. Maybe it was 3 times. I think I gained a couple of pounds. And just a great place. You know what's really cool about it? It's where the locals hang out. And visitors like to go where the locals go. And by the way, that's another thing I want to tell you. If you don't hang out in your town or your area, neither will visitors. We go where you go. We look for the most local cars when we go to a restaurant. And so it was just really a cute place, and we thought absolutely we had to have that. You can see how this list is getting long already. And so, and by the way, I put the craft shop there. Did you, how many of you recognized the very opening slide and knew right where it was? Okay, a couple of you, but not very many. That was right downstairs. It's awesome. We would have never known about it. But it's right downstairs. And so we went in there. It's an awesome little gallery in there. And by the way, one of the artisans, we loved the Cherry Hill studio. And so we tried to find them. We never could find them. We went out of our way to try to figure out where they were at. And so there you go. We tried to find it because we thought, wow, we want to get some of their art, but we might as well just go right to the studio, but we couldn't find it. And so it was great. Then you have the LaHave Ferry, and I've been on just about every one of the cable ferries in the province. I think there's about a dozen of them. But you know what? For a visitor, it's a great experience. One thing that really set this one apart is the deckhand. I don't know who you know, there's the captain and your other guy. It was so cool what he did. We went on this twice just to kind of secret shop him. And both times we got on the ferry, he said, so are you a visitor? I said, yeah. And he run into the little shop there and bring out brochures. And say, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I thought that was awesome. It's the only ferry that I've been on where you actually had a deckhand was a great Chamber of Commerce representative. He did such a great job, you know, and he was just so enthusiastic about the Bluenose coast in this area. And so I thought that was really, really great. You know what? It starts with your frontline employees. And so I think on your best ofs, you have to have that. And I know for you that you're thinking, yeah, we see the ferry all the time. It's 5 minutes, not that big a deal. But, you know, to a visitor, it's really cool. You know, and it's, what is it? And I didn't even realize that you could buy a book of tickets for like, I can't remember, you get like 13 tickets for like $5 or something. We didn't even know that. He's the one who told us that we could save some money. So, while we were there in LaHave, we saw this. And by the way, let's see here. I came with Jane, and let me give you another statistic. Women account for 80% of all spending. Go ahead. Waiting for the guys. Usually usually there's some guy in the audience that says, that's all. But they also make 70% of the decisions on where we travel. That's more like it. And so while we were driving, my wife took notes. That's why, so I followed her lead. And by the way, here's what she said about Best Coast Coffee Gallery. Great lunch, explanation point. They use locally baked fresh bread and grow their own vegetables and make their own ketchup. Great panini club. and wonderful, cozy atmosphere. There are paintings by local artists for sale there. So there you go. That's just, I told her I add it to TripAdvisor. She's going to. And so, Village of LaHave. Cute! Exclamation point. LaHave Bakery, LaHave Craft Shop, Westcote. Is it Westcote or Westcote? Westcote. Great. And best pottery shop ever. LaHave Ferry, fun little ride. And so we did go in there. And by the way, I love the fact you can see the kiln there. And I took a lot of pictures there. And by the way, we filled our luggage with your stuff. As a matter of fact, my wife bought 2 mugs, one with the crows on it and another one, and we use them at home. And we had guests come over and they want some more of those. Can you ship to the States? Yeah, good. And I wonder who made this mug right here. Yeah, that would be. By the way, you know what's really cool about this is, first of all, it is, and I agree with what my wife said, is, what'd she say? Best pottery shop ever. Now, you have to understand something. We travel, or at least I travel, 250 days a year. We've worked in 1,000 different places. We've worked in every province in Canada, Western Europe, and all over the United States. And for my wife to say that is really something. You know what's really great is the range in your art. So, yeah, thank you. Look at this quote. Look at that. People are 4 times more likely to buy art when they meet the artisan. Oh, yeah, I met the artist that did this. He's really great. They're both really great. And so when you see them actually working there, you can see how things are made and everything, 4 times more likely to buy art. That's a cool thing. There you go. That's what I'm talking about, promoting your anchor tenants. And can't wait to come back and get more stuff. Discount now? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. And so, once again, I absolutely I thought it was just terrific. Great job. Then we were driving around. We did see, is it Rizzers? Okay. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing things right. And so, because I'm still trying to say Musquodobbit. Did I get it sort of quiet? Did it get close? Yeah, see what that's. So anyway, we did see that there. And we saw this cool boardwalk. It was just really gorgeous. Now, we didn't realize you're supposed to park across the street, so we actually parked in there, and a ranger came out and scolded us, and we're parked in a no parking. I said, I just want to take a few pictures. Is that all right? But, once again, it's kind of like you got to make it easy for us to experience it. But I thought it was just a tremendous, I think it's like 1/3 of a kilometer. I don't know how long it is, but it was really, really beautiful and absolutely worth the stop, even on a foggy day. And so you could see these are, now you notice I did show some things that I didn't put on this list. They will benefit by this list. And so I thought it was really, that is absolutely worth it. And by the way, that is not even on the map. So you need to add it. So all your best of should be on the map now that I'm going to give you the list. So we're scouting the area around. We're in there. We did see Joya Antiques there. Beautiful, beautiful place. There are great antiques. I mean, not just secondhand stuff, but real antiques and furniture. He does a great job there. This guy sells daylilies, and I mean, he said, hey, walk around by the house and everything. It was a really great experience. The only reason I did not put him on the best of live is because he kind of is open when it's convenient. And I think to be a best of, remember that list is you had to be consistent. And I told him that. But you know what? It could certainly be a hidden gem or a Bluenose Coast hidden treasure or a hidden gem. You've been using hidden gems, continue to use them. Hidden gems can also include businesses. And so kind of across the street is Jan's Antiques. Lady Luck there, went in there. We thought it was cute. She had a lot of china. I think that's kind of her specialty. Just a great little place. And so, and I wouldn't say, a best of or probably not even a hidden gem. And that doesn't mean we won't ever go there. Because you know what? We'll also do all those other things. Now, this we saw there, you can see, this should be almost at least 3 times a week. Because we went by there 3 times in 5 days and it never changed. And this is in July. And granted, the weather's bad. It looks like somebody grabbed one and tried to stuff it back down in there. There's one on the ground. And so what I see, promo, what's on the kiosk. I thought this was good. Pretty much the same thing on here. One of the hidden gems, which is somewhat different from the Bluenose Coast hidden gems, and I'm hoping that you will get them all like on the, so you have the same list. You know, so it's like, well, we got one set of hidden gems, and now we have another set of hidden gems. By the way, if you have any questions while I'm going, you just raise your hand or just yell, "Hey, you!" So we did find Fort Point Museum and Lighthouse there, and we didn't realize that there are two Fort Point lighthouses in Nova Scotia. And but we thought it was very cute, very charming, and of course you could tell what the weather was like. You can't see any water. And I thought it was really a great little place there. You can kind of back there. But you know what was really sad? They said, well, the fire marshal or somebody won't let people go upstairs. And I mean, it was so, it's like, man, we regulate ourselves to death. You know? Not that that's an issue here or anything. But it was really great. He said, we can't let anybody go up there because we have to do a bunch of regulations, or we have to do it. Man, you got to be joking. We want to go up there and see the view, even though we couldn't see about, 20 meters. And so while we're in the area, we did see LaHave Islands, and so we thought, well, we better go out there. And I didn't know how many islands you could go to or anything, but we did actually go to this one. And so we went over the little single-lane bridge, which we thought was really cute. We loved that. And we did see the Little Marine Museum. These are all things we missed the first time. So now we're digging deeper, and we're really uncovering, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we missed this. And so this was really cute. It had, and by the way, washrooms should be on your maps. Here's why. Here's my soundbite for you. Relieved visitors spend more. True. It's absolutely true. Thank goodness for the LaHave Bakery. We used those. We went down those stairs many times. And you know what? Here's another thing about washrooms. Do you know that McDonald's has a corporate policy of never putting on any doors and windows for customers only or no public washrooms? You know why? Because 70% of the people that come in and use the washrooms also buy something. Half out of guilt. They call it guilt sales, really. We use the washroom, we better buy something. We did that at the LaHave Bakery. We're guilty as charged. And the other half say, while we're here, let's get something to eat, something to drink. See what I mean? So it was great. They had public washrooms. And a nice little museum, beautiful art on the wall. The gal that was working there was really nice. And she lived in the area, grew up in the area. I think she was going to college, but was working there during the summer. Just a great little place. So we spent, there's one day right there. I mean, that took a whole day to do Petite Riviere, and we went to more places than this. I'm just showing kind of the highlights, but we drove around. We went down every little peninsula we could find. We went everywhere. And, so when people say, oh, come to Bluenose Coast for a day, wrong. They're never going to get past Peggy's Cove. And that's why you have to sell the best of, so it brings them further. So while we were out, people kept talking about great places to eat, and this is what I mean by word of mouth. And so he said, man, you got to go to Nicky's in Chester. And we did. One of the best meals we've had in Nova Scotia. So, she's here, see? Were you sweating it? Oh man, what's he gonna, after he gave Oak Island such a bad time, but anyway, it was really great. It was just really great people, and look at that, oh my gosh. I couldn't help it, I had to take a picture. And so I think it's so important to have great things like that, and it was really, really, really good. And so, I mean, I'd recommend that. And by the way, when I say, well, gee, you promoted LaHave Bakery, and you promoted Nicky's Inn, and, but what about all the other restaurants? Here's what you have to understand. We were here for 5 days. We ate at her restaurant once. We didn't say, even though it was good and we would have liked to have eaten there every day, we thought, we're going to always share it. So it's okay, because I know there's going to be politics and pushback from this list. You got to promote your anchor tenants. And if you can't do it, then I'm doing it for you. And by the way, we didn't eat at every single restaurant. So we may be missing a couple things on this list. But I think it's a good starting point for you. And so day 2, we went back. So we stayed in Hubbard. So we went back down to Bridgewater. We kind of done the Petite Riviere, that La Have area. And now we're in Bridgewater. And so we're looking for things to do in the area. And one of our, one thing I want you to do is work with GPS. So I'm going to stop here for a minute. And just so you know, only 20% of visitors use GPS devices. But it's growing at 10% a year. So that means in 2 years, 50% of people will use GPS devices. This does not replace wayfinding signage. Because when you use a GPS, we're punching in things we already know about for the most part. And by the way, if you've ever used a GPS and you're looking for places here, I'll bet you about 50% of the stuff on there is wrong, missing, or already closed. And so what I want you to do is work with GPS companies on some of those things. 20%, there it is, on smartphones built into cars, navigation systems. I happen to have a little Garmin Nuvi. Here's what you could do. If your restaurant, your B&B, your hotel, your pottery shop, whatever it is you have, if it's not on there, here's how you can get it on these maps. Navtech is the main map provider for most of these devices. And they have a thing called Map Reporter. And it's free. You go in there and you say, here's where I'm located. You give them all the information, and then the next time they do a map update, you're on there. So it's Navtech, and it's navtech.com, Navteq.com. And here's what you need to do. You could get volunteers that have TomTom, Garmin, Magellan, or built-in GPS units. If you have Ford, that has the Ford has their, what do they call it, sync system. That's done by Microsoft. And have them check these out. And all you do is go to points of interest, say restaurants in the area, and they'll list them all. And find out what's missing, what's already gone. And they really appreciate it. And by the way, Navtech handles all the maps for Garmin, Lowrance, N-Drive. They also do all the Yahoo Maps, Bing Maps, and Nokia Maps, and MapQuest. And they also do XM and satellite radio. XM and Sirius satellite radio, which is XM Sirius now. That's all on Navtech. There are other companies that also do it. Google, TomTom provides data for TomTom and Apple's iOS 6, or 7 now. And Google Maps provides its own data. And here's the URLs. And by the way, if you don't want to write all this stuff down, we're going to get you the report, and it will have all this information in it. So there it is, Map Reporter. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry, I said navtech.com. It's actually mapreporter.navtech.com. And there's TeleAtlas, and there's Google Maps, Places for Business. And so you need to do that because a lot of it was out of date. While we were in Bridgewater, we saw the Wiley karting. It is Wiley, right? Weil. Okay, Weil karting. See, this is why I'm asking. Weil Karting Museum, Mill Museum. We went in there. Great little place. We had driven by it last time, but we didn't stop in because we were rushed for time. It was pouring down rain. And not that ever happens here. I'm from Seattle, We can relate. And so I thought that was cool for key to the washer mask inside the mill. I thought that was cool that they offered that. Instead of saying go away or for visitors only. What's really cool about it, here's another couple that was in there, is you actually get to go in there and card your wool. People want things that are experiential. We want things to do, not just things to look at. And so it was cool that they're able to card the wool there, and there's one of the workers. This is my wife right there, and she's carding the wool right there, and then she's actually spinning it, and they're teaching all. I mean, it was just really great, really sweet lady doing this, and it was just really a fun experience. And of course, it was raining pretty heavy. The wheel was just spinning like mad, but it was really cool and very fun. And you know what? They need to be on this list. It was just really a fun little experience. We probably spent half an hour there, so these don't have to be, hour or all day long things, but we also had to include that. We thought it was just really cool because it was experiential. They talked about the girls that worked there and what it was like, and then we also went here to the museum. We went here 5 years ago and looked at it. It was a little bit overgrown then. It's even more so now. And so sometimes you need to cut back things because this is almost like close it. You don't want to walk through there because it's starting to get a little overgrown. It's almost, so it's really important cut things back a little bit. It was hard to see when or if it's ever open. But we knew we had to go in, and so we did. And it had a nice, there's three things you need to avoid when you're marketing historical attractions. Words like collections, artifacts, archives, because to the average visitor, it sounds boring. And so now this museum wasn't boring. I thought it had a lot of good displays in there. It talked about teaching and school teachers. I love the model sailboats. But like a lot of museums, it wasn't real interactive. You would just go through and take a look at it. And so we were there for probably another half hour. But you know what? This is okay, because you know what? When you get people spend 2 hours, they're spending doubles. 2 hours spending will double. Remember, overnight, it quadruples. So that's the rule. So that's great. So while we were here, we decided to have lunch in Bridgewater. So we got out, TripAdvisor and the wave. Sorry, it's blurry. It was really dark and rainy. So we decided to eat there. It was rated one of the best places in Bridgewater. And so we did go in there, and we did eat there, and we had a nice lunch. And I was sitting there looking, and my wife looked at me and says, "I think we're the youngest people in here." And but it was nice. It was, I wouldn't say it was fantastic, the best of or anything, but I thought it was good. And so, and one of my challenges is, one thing we thought about Bridgewater, in 5 years, it hadn't changed at all. It hadn't gotten worse, but it hadn't gotten better either. And so I kept going, well, what do you say to Bridgewater? What do you say to the folks in Bridgewater? And I thought, man, they ought to be the provisioning headquarters for this whole Bluenose, South Shore, down to like Shag Harbor, all the way up to Peggy's Cove, where you go for provisioning if you need the Walmart, the big box, and that's okay. And by the way, we never thought of Bridgewater as much of a tourist town, other than a couple little museums, but that's okay. It doesn't matter as long as people spend money here. We worked in a little place in southern Nevada called Laughlin. It's right across the river from Bullhead City, Arizona. How do you like that for a name? The Colorado runs between them. Laughlin has all these huge high-rise casinos and entertainment. You look over in the river into the Bullhead City side, and they've got these little one-story, 60s mom-and-pop motels. They asked me, how are we going to get people across the river? We don't have gaming. We don't have big casinos. We can't compete with Nevada. I said, what do you have that they don't have over there? They said, we have a Walmart. And I went, woohoo. And they said, but we also have a JCPenney store. We also have a drugstore. All these things they don't have over there. I said, why don't you rent a billboard outside on the way to Laughlin, so all these people driving south from Las Vegas, and put on the billboard these words: for all your personal needs, Bullhead City, ahead 2 miles over the bridge. And then at the bottom of the billboard, they put Walmart, Penny's, I think there was a CVS drugstore, a Safeway store, and they had their logos across the bottom. They all paid 1/5 of the cost of the billboard. Within 30 days, their retail sales went up nearly 40%. They weren't the destination, but that's where they spent a lot of money. People went over there. And then you know what happened? Because there were so many people driving across the river to get their personal needs, restaurants started popping up pretty soon. They used Walmart as their Disney World. But it worked. And so for Bridgewater, I thought maybe you're the kind of the provisioning headquarters, because you have those things we can't get up and down the rest of the Bluenose coast. And then every town should have a focus. So I'm going to take a little side trip right here. Well-branded communities, I think if you want the scenic route in Nova Scotia, it's the Cabot Trail. I mean, that's number one. It's one of the top 10 drives in North America. If you want Kaylee's, maybe Maboo, the Kaylee Trail over there is awesome. And there's other places that happen, but you want Nova Scotia wines, for the most part, it's going to be the Annapolis Valley. That's okay, you got one, and that's awesome. And if you want scallops, you're supposed to go to Digby. Now, we did actually assess Digby, and we had a hard time finding anybody that served Digby scallops. Hiking, Skyline Trail, or it could be the Balancing Rock, I think it is, at Digby Neck, those kinds of things. Signature Lighthouse, Peggy's Cove, is iconic Nova Scotia. And people say, well, yeah, they're so busy, they get all the glory and all that. I don't care. It's still iconic Nova Scotia. I've probably taken 100 photos. By the way, it's the most photographed item in all of Atlantic Canada. It's okay. It's still iconic. I'm from Seattle. We have the Space Needle. St. Louis has the Arch. You have Peggy's Cove. And so I think that's Petit Riviere, Art and Wine, Chester maybe. You know, this time we walked around Chester and I thought, man alive, this is just like Cape Cod. Which, by the way, is a really alluring brand, particularly in the States. So, I mean, it's just, and then Acadian, probably Lower Pubnico, you know, we thought was great. Lunenburg, of course, for the World Heritage Site and the Bluenose, when it's there. Mahone Bay, Art and Food, my favorite town in Nova Scotia, still, after doing this entire province. I think it sets the standard. So we're driving around. We see the Ovens Natural Park. So we go in, and first of all, signs should be maintained every year, and this goes for all of you. Every year, 2 at most, no more than 14 words. This one here has 53 words on it. I mean, do you ever go along the highway and you stop, pull over so you can read all the sign? Or write some stuff down? And so that's one thing, just make it simpler. Incredible caves, sea caves, or whatever. Always promote the lore. So we did go there, nice welcome, hanging baskets, nice, you know, good friendly people. Walked in there, saw the little, you know, miner diner there, and I thought it was pretty cool. And we decided to walk down and see the ovens, you know, the different caves that are down there. Here's the thing, it had been raining pretty much all day, every day. And as we walked down there, most of the trail was clear with puddles. Nobody had rubber boots, you can't rent them. There was probably 50 other people. We're tromping through the woods, trying to get around these big muds, trying to get around these, and that's just a little mud puddle. Some of them were so big that they were like half the size of this room. And all this water you see running down here is this from in the trail because it's all dammed up right here. So when we were done, and people were having a miserable time, and they're trying to walk around. I got soaked. My wife got soaked because some of the puddles were this deep. And I went back and I said to their staff, I said, you know, if I was trying to do, me and another guy, a visitor, we're trying to take a stick just to kind of brush, you know, a little pathway for the water to run down over the cliff. So I went back and said, you know, if somebody has just a little flatbed shovel or a clamming shovel or something or a hoe, I think you could go out there and drain all these trails because they're all full of water. And so we went down there. And this is what, you know, you'll have to tell so-and-so. That's what they told us. We talked to 3 people and said, oh, you have to tell somebody else. We're a guest here. And then I said, well, I said, but if you give me a shovel, I'll go do it. Oh, no, we're not going to let you do that. I said, well, if you go out there, there's a lot of people out there, and they're really having a hard time navigating around all the puddles and everything. And this is what I finally got a hold of the main guy. He says, we don't hardly ever go out there. I was shocked. I was just totally shocked. That'd be like going to Disney World and then you pay your admission, and you have people working in the restaurant say, you know what, somebody had an accident, a little kid had an accident over there we don't ever go out to the rides. That's the main attraction. We don't hardly ever go out there. I'm going, I wonder if there's bodies out there. I mean, they never are. It does say enter at your own risk. I was just totally shocked. So, I went back the next day. Nothing was done. I talked to 5 people. Nothing was done. They didn't care. They could care less. I mean, I thought about saying, who's the owner here? Give me the number 1 person in charge. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to wait for this meeting, and hopefully it'll get back to whoever is the Ovens. It is really an awesome attraction, actually. It is amazing. But you know what? If you you can have an amazing attraction, but if you have lousy customer service, you know what? It eliminates it. And so it really is really cool what they've done there, going down these things and seeing these different ovens. I mean, I like the one that's the cannon. Have you been down there when the water goes there? It goes, kaboom, you know, it's really, really, really a cool experience. And, you know, I would always say do professionally produced signs, but you know what? Just like I put up there, hey, something's better than nothing. At least they're telling us how to get back out to the main highway and 333 or wherever we're going. And so that's one thing that I thought. And by the way, when we talk about the best ofs, I'll show you, we're getting here. Let me keep going down this list. It's getting long, isn't it? and only if they fix it. I don't know if anybody's here from the ovens. I don't know, and I don't want to embarrass anybody here, but you know what? If that's the kind of customer service, you do not put them on this list. But if they say, you know what, I had a real hard time with my employees this summer, when I get my next crew, I'm going to make sure they get trained, then absolutely they should be on this list. But remember, if a person has a bad experience, because I saw dozens of people that are having a bad experience,